All right, guys, so this story right here should be just a massive, massive eye-opener for you about just how much Trump is letting his extremism hang out now. I mean, he got away with 91 crimes, right? He got away with January 6th. He got away with the fake electors slates. There was zero accountability, zero justice, and he feels genuinely, completely and utterly Teflon. And as a result of that, some of his worst instincts are now, he's screaming them from the rooftops, right? So look at this. Revealed Trump's confidential plan to put Ukraine in a stranglehold. So this is from the Telegraph. Pay close attention to the specifics here because they paint an incredibly dire picture. Ready? Donald Trump's demand for a $500 billion payback from Ukraine goes far beyond U.S. control over the country's critical minerals. It covers everything from ports and infrastructure to oil and gas, and the larger resource base of the country. The terms of the contract that landed at Zelensky's office a week ago amount to the U.S. economic colonization of Ukraine in legal perpetuity. It implies a burden of reparations that cannot possibly be achieved. The document has caused consternation and panic in Kyiv. The Telegraph has obtained a draft of the pre-decisional contract marked privileged and confidential dated February 7, 2025. It states that the U.S. and Ukraine should form a joint investment fund to ensure that hostile parties to the conflict do not benefit from the reconstruction of Ukraine. The agreement covers the economic value associated with resources of Ukraine, including mineral resources, oil and gas resources, ports, other infrastructure, leaving it unclear what else might be encompassed. This agreement shall be governed by New York law without regard to conflict of laws principles, it states. The U.S. will take 50% of recurring revenues received by Ukraine from the extraction of resources and 50% of the financial value of all new licenses issued to third parties for the future monetization of resources. There will be a lien on such revenues in favor of the U.S. That clause means pay us first and then feed your children, said one source close to the negotiation. It states that for all future licenses, the U.S. will have a right of first refusal for the purchase of exportable materials. Washington will have sovereign immunity and acquire near total control over most of Ukraine's commodity and resource economy. The fund shall have the exclusive right to establish the method, selection criteria, terms, and conditions of all future licenses and projects, and so forth in this vein. It seems to have been written by private lawyers, not the U.S. Departments of State or Commerce. President Zelensky himself proposed the idea of giving the U.S. a direct stake in Ukraine's rare earth elements and critical minerals on a visit to Trump Tower in September, hoping to smooth the way for continued arms deliveries. He calculated it would lead to U.S. companies setting operations on the ground, creating a political tripwire that would deter Vladimir Putin from attacking again. So do you understand what they're saying here? Knowing that Trump is like a skeptic of continuing to back Ukraine, Zelensky floated, hey man, what if we give you like a little piece of our rare earth elements and our critical minerals? And that would then open up the door to U.S. companies coming into Ukraine, setting up shop and doing work. And in Zelensky's mind, he feels like that would set up a deterrent for Russia to continue to attack Ukraine, because they would feel like if we end up killing, U.S. workers who are there now, well then that'll lead to a backlash from the U.S. And so it would set up a deterrent. Like, okay, let's not go crazy here because we'll end up killing some Americans and that could have dire consequences, right? So that was the idea. And I have no doubt in the mind of Zelensky, right, when he says, we'll give you a piece of rare earth minerals and critical minerals, rare earth elements and critical minerals, in his mind he's thinking, we'll give you like 5%, right? Maybe 10%, right? So Trump drafts this contract and he's like, how about we have 50% of all of your natural resources from now until the end of time? Those terms would make fucking Vladimir Putin blush. Are you kidding me? Okay, all right, let's keep going. We're not done. Some mineral basins are near the front line in eastern Ukraine or in Russian-occupied areas. He has played up the dangers of letting strategic reserves of titanium, tungsten, uranium, graphite, and rare earths fall into Russian hands. If we are talking about a deal, then let's do a deal. We are only for it, he said. He probably did not expect to be confronted with terms normally imposed on aggressor states defeated in war. They are worse than the financial penalties imposed on Germany and Japan after their defeat in 1945. Both countries were ultimately net recipients of funds from the victorious allies. This is so... I've never seen anything like this. They go on to say, if this draft were accepted, which it won't be, Trump's demands would amount to a higher share of Ukrainian GDP than reparations imposed on Germany at the Treaty of Versailles. Do you understand how insane that is? If you know anything about history right now, you are fucking facepalming so hard that your hand just went through your brain. Bro, the Treaty of Versailles, that was one of the things that led to the economic conditions, which led to the rise of Adolf Hitler. It was so punitive. It was so over the top. It was so extreme that you radicalized an entire generation of Germans into saying, fuck it, we got nothing to lose. Let's ride with Hitler, dog. They're trying to impose terms on Ukraine worse than the Treaty of Versailles. They continue. Donald Trump told Fox News that Ukraine had essentially agreed to hand over $500 billion. They have tremendously valuable land in terms of rare earths, in terms of oil and gas, and in terms of other things, he said. He warned that Ukraine would be handed to Putin on a plate if it rejected the terms. So if you don't agree to let us steal 50% of your natural resources from now until forever, we'll just let Vladimir Putin roll you over. Oh my God. Quote, they may make a deal, they may not make a deal, they may be Russian someday, or they may not be Russian someday, but I want this money back, he said. Trump said the U.S. had spent $300 billion on the war so far, adding that it would be stupid to hand over any more. In fact, the 5 packages agreed by Congress total $175 billion, of which $70 billion was spent in the U.S. on weapons production. So in other words, the actual number is closer to $105 billion, but Trump says it's $300 billion. By the way, well, just a second, I have a statement from Trump on Ukraine, and he ups it again. This is a classic Trump lie, right? I think he says $350 billion is what it... Are you fucking kidding me? This is what he did with that lie about condoms being sent to... It started out with $50 billion is being sent in condoms to Gaza. Then it became $50 billion is being sent in condoms to Hamas. Then it became $100 billion is being sent in condoms to Hamas that they use for making bombs. The guy is the biggest fucking pathological liar on the planet, and there's no connection to like, hey, is this even like reasonably plausible, the shit I'm saying? It's just gone. So he lies about even the dollar figure that Ukraine has received. So they say some of the money that Ukraine got is in the form of humanitarian grants, but much of it is lend-lease money that must be repaid. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham suggested at the Munich Security Conference over the weekend that Trump's demand was a clever ploy to bolster declining popular support for the Ukrainian cause. This guy's a fucking idiot. He can go to the American people and say Ukraine is not a burden, it's a benefit, he said. So this is Lindsey Graham justifying imperialism and colonization of fucking Ukraine. Senator Graham told the Europeans to root hard for the idea because it locks Washington into defending a future settlement. If we sign this minerals agreement, Putin is screwed because Trump will defend the deal. Oh my God. Ukrainian officials had to tiptoe through this minefield at the Munich Forum, trying to smile gamely and talk up hopes of a resource deal, while at the same time, I think I'm supposed to say, pleading that the current text breaches Ukrainian law and needs redrafting. Talk of Ukraine's resource wealth has become surreal. A figure of $26 trillion is being cast around for combined mineral reserves and hydrocarbon reserves. The sums are make-believe. So understand what's happening here. Trump is going up to a country that's an ally of ours that was illegally invaded. And he's saying, maybe we'll defend you, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll help you, maybe we won't. But if we do, you are going to give us 50% of everything you own from now until forever. As I said, those are terms that would make fucking Vladimir Putin blush. I mean, you're open to Vladimir Putin could go to Zelensky now and say, he wants 50%, we'll only take 40%. So make a deal with us. Let us take over your land. Right? So Ukraine is now caught in between two countries that are imperialist colonizers who are warmongering. That's what they are, right? That's what they're caught between. So there is no independence, there is no freedom, there is no liberty for the people of Ukraine. I feel horrible for the poor people in Ukraine who are now caught between an exploitative U.S. government and a Russian government which is literally waging war on their existence. Jesus fucking Christ. Insane, guys. Again, I don't know why this isn't bigger news. I have no idea why this isn't bigger news. He's like openly demanding we want to colonize Ukraine, our ally. We want to colonize you. So, by the way, this should also remind you, oh, Trump is fucking serious about Greenland. Trump is serious about stealing Greenland. So he wants to warmonger with Greenland and Denmark. He's serious about stealing Panama. He's serious about war with Mexico. He's serious about war with Iran. He's serious when he says, I want Canada to be the 51st state. And even if some of these things don't come to pass, right, you need to understand, just the fact that a U.S. president is openly talking about these things and saying these things, that is mental. You completely lose any standing in the world. You're no longer the world's sole superpower. You're no longer the country that people look to right or wrong. You are the biggest problem. Oh my God. All right, so now let me show you this. This is what Trump said. Think of it. A modestly successful comedian, Vladimir Zelensky, talked to the United States of America into spending $350 billion. Again, the number keeps going up. He keeps making it up and pushing it up and up and up. To go into a war that couldn't be won, that never had to start, but a war that he, without the U.S. and Trump, will never be able to settle. By the way, I resent this framing because, again, he keeps implying like fucking Ukraine started the war. Who invaded who, you dumb bitch? Who invaded who? The more intelligent people who have this philosophy will always put the qualifier, well, obviously Vladimir Putin invading was bad and wrong and he was the aggressor, right? And then they might go on to make more nuanced points about NATO, et cetera, et cetera. But like, he's not even doing that. He's like blaming Ukraine for the war, which they were invaded. They are on the defense. Oh my God. The United States has spent $200 billion more than Europe, and Europe's money is guaranteed, while the United States will get nothing back. Why didn't sleepy Joe Biden demand equalization in that this war is far more important to Europe than it is to us? We have a big, beautiful ocean as separation. On top of this, Zelensky admits that half of the money we send him is missing. That's total horseshit. He refuses to have elections. It's literally like part of the system is when it's only when the war is over that you have elections. This isn't like the idea of this, gotcha. No, there is no gotcha. We already knew this from fucking day one that that's the case. Is very low in Ukrainian polls. By the way, he lied and said he was at 4%. He's at 52%, not at 4%. Just shameless. And the only thing he was good at was playing Biden like a fiddle, a dictator without elections. Literally fucking yesterday, Trump came out and said, only I can determine what the law is. Fuck you to Congress, fuck you to the courts, fuck you to anybody and everybody that's a check on me and my power. He doesn't believe in checks and balances. He doesn't believe in separation of power. He literally came out and said that the other day. Now he's saying Zelensky is a dictator. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. In the meantime, we are successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia, something I'll admit only Trump and the Trump administration can do. Biden never tried. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelensky probably wants to keep the gravy train going. Yeah, he wants to keep the gravy train going. Yeah, I'm sure. What is leading to the quote-unquote gravy train? Oh, that's right. He was illegally invaded by Russia, and Russia is trying to take over the entire country. So the fucking gravy train is the ability to fight back against that. Oh my God, this is fucking brainworms, bro. This is brainworms. And Zelensky probably wants to keep the gravy train going. I love Ukraine. Sure you do. But Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered and millions have unnecessarily died. And so it continues. Again, he talks like Zelensky started it. He talks like Ukraine launched the illegal and offensive invasion when Vladimir Putin did. You want to know why he released this statement? This is my opinion. This is my speculation. Trump posted this because my guess is he got word from the Ukrainian government. No, we're not going to give you 50% of our natural resources from now until forever. No, we're not going to let you fucking colonize us in that brazen way. Ukraine always looked to the West. They wanted to be part of the West. They looked to the West because they felt like, hey, they're less exploitative. If we work with Russia, they're way more exploitative. They're way more authoritarian. And we want to be more independent. And so we don't want to work with Russia. We want to work with the West. Now, this dumbass goes in there and he's like, how about I impose on you terms that are worse than the fucking Treaty of Versailles? How about we steal 50% of everything you have from now until forever? And you should be thankful. Well, like I said, at that point, why wouldn't Vladimir Putin come in and say, give me 40% and I'll let you keep all of your territory, right? It's very possible now. That's the move Vladimir Putin makes, because this is the U.S. going full 1800 style imperialist, full colonization. It's not fucking subtle, y'all. It's not subtle. I don't think people realize just how far gone we are. I really don't think people realize. This is worse than a 5-alarm fire. This is like almost inconceivably insane what we're witnessing here. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.